Let's talk about streamer merch. Alongside Patreon and donations, there's one crucial tool that streamers and content creators must have in order to see success in their career, and that is merch. Quick pause in the video. This is not a bit. I had a photo sent to me of Hasan Piker, the Hasan Piker, wearing a shirt that I designed. And I guess it was on a stream a few months ago. My roommate sent this to me. It doesn't have really anything to do with the video, but I mean, that's pretty cool to me. I don't know. Yeah, that happened. So I guess back to the video. Good merch doesn't only support a content creator financially, but it also promotes their brand. That's why good merch can be so important. And it's just a great way to connect with the community. Because if someone wears the merch more, then the more that brand is being promoted. When it comes to merch in the content creator world, however, there's good merch, and then there's great merch. I'm no expert, but I think I can make a pretty mean t-shirt from time to time. So that's our goal today. I chose two streamers I really enjoy with okay merch, and I'm going to take a crack at designing a merch line for them for free. Why? Why not? Maybe they'll see this, maybe they'll like it, maybe they'll see it, maybe they'll hate it. But there's only one way to find out. There's a lot of streamers out there that are super witty and have some of the best inside jokes and make some of the funniest and most original content that I've ever seen. And then there's Ludwig. Ludwig seemed like an obvious choice for me for one of the first designs that we're going to be doing, simply because of the fact that I love his content and he has a great community. I think he has a lot of inside jokes and a lot of connection with his community. He has a lot of defining things that really stick out with his content that I think would be easily marketable. And for people that would want to support him, they would enjoy this stuff. Looking through his merch store, however, I don't want to talk down on his designs. I think what he's doing is great, but I think it could go further. You have the Mogul Moves hoodie and the Mogul Moves crew neck and the Mogul Moves hoodie and the Mogul Moves crew neck and the Mogul Moves t-shirt, which, don't get me wrong, I love it. Mogul Moves is great, but I think we could do a little bit better than a Seinfeld rip in different cuts of tea. Baby. Just for some reference, just to make sure that we don't deviate too far from the direction that he's going with his merch store, I pulled some assets from his merch store. I figured these were the most notable ones that I've seen most people wear, so I figured they would be the best ones to reference. So after I got a general idea down of what Ludwig was going for his merch and jotted down some ideas for inside jokes and jumping off points for these illustrations, I wanted to work on an illustration that was more than just text. I wanted to work on a mascot for the shirt, which led me to this line work. You'll see a few things in here that are like slight nods to Ludwig's merch or some of his videos. Not too much. The reason I chose sunglasses for these characters is just because I wanted them to be kind of nondescript and look like general characters, if that makes sense. I didn't want them to look like any specific person. I just wanted them to be like, oh, these are obviously cute little characters. You can see here I have the Mogul Moves beanie. I've seen that worn a lot, and I know that was something that launched on his store. So I figured it'd be kind of like a funny little nod to some of his old merch, as well as the Zero Viewers stream hat that he did for the video of making a company and essentially selling merch by tricking Mizkif into putting on a stream. So small, subtle nods to some of his content already, nothing too crazy. I also added this up hand like this just because recently something that's been very popular on TikTok and in general with his fan base is the Luddy. It always starts in bottom position or top position, so I figured it'd be something that may come across that way. It may not. I know that's a very generic hand pose, so it may not even be conveyed like I'd want it to, but you know, I figured throw it in there. Why not? It'd be funny. After I got some general ideas down of the actual characters themselves, then I wanted to move into the text on the top. Of course, the easy way out would have been the Mogul Moves, but I think that's ran its course in his merch store. I'm not saying that it's not good merch. I'm not saying that it's not worth still purchasing. I just think that we could deviate a little bit and go a little bit further. One thing that I'm aware of is that Ludwig calls his fans his Ludbuds. So I figured, why not use that as a little bit of a tagline? So I came up with this kind of big bold text that says Ludbuds. I figured this would be the most on brand, especially if you wanted to wear merch that was more discreet and not necessarily like screaming Ludwig. I think this is really cool because if you're walking down the street and you're looking at this on a t-shirt, you could say, oh, that's some cute little characters and some big text, Ludbuds. That's interesting. But if you know, you know. After I came up with the text, I figured the next best step was to pull some colors. The colors were a little bit difficult because I did want to lean more into things that referenced Ludwig's content, but it's kind of hard to convey that with colors. I did come up with something. I'll kind of run through it and see if you guys get this vibe. And if not, that's also totally understandable. At the end of the day, art can be interpreted in so many different ways. As long as it's enjoyable, however you interpret it, that's okay. That's what art's about. So these are the colors I went with for this design. I went with the red shoes on the right character because I wanted to kind of reference Ludwig's Lightning McQueen Crocs. I was going to go a little bit deeper, but doing that much detail on such a small character just didn't feel right for this design. The character on the left obviously is wearing the color of the Mogul Moves cursive hoodie. I just wanted it to be recognizable with his brand, so I went with that. The character on the right is just wearing a basic gray shirt to match his gray no views hat. I wanted it to be cohesive, consistent, and fun. And I just realized that there is a little line that I missed. So I have my line work done, my colors done, and my text done. I wanted to add one more thing when I was thinking about this design, which was just a stroke around the characters themselves, just so the characters feel like they're in the foreground instead of the background, and the text doesn't meld into the outline of the characters themselves. And honestly, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think this is definitely perfectly vaguely Ludwig, if that makes sense. And that's exactly what I was going for this design. So really all we have left is to throw this onto a mock-up of a t-shirt or a hoodie. I might do both just to kind of have a whole spread across the board and then make the advertisement post. And that's all going to be done in Photoshop. So we can hop over to there and get started on that. So funny thing about the Photoshop recording is for some reason my audio was not picked up by my mic at all. So we're going to go into voiceover mode. Pretty much all I'm doing here is I have two separate mock-ups. I have the shirt mock-up and the long sleeve mock-up, and I have my art imported into Photoshop itself. Here you can see I'm just removing the stroke around the characters themselves just so I can have a fully transparent background. And in a second, you'll see me drag this onto the shirt itself like this. A lot of this was really just sizing up the artwork and messing around with the colors. I had a lot of trouble deciding on what colors I liked the most for this project. Initially, I was leaning towards like some creams and oranges and browns. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this because on this long sleeve, it's a little more faded. So it was a lot of tinkering, a lot of messing around, a lot of playing with it, which is kind of like my favorite part about this design process. So yeah, it was around this time that I was getting a little stumped. I wasn't really liking how this looked faded and kind of dirty color. So I started looking at some more reference and I ended up kind of leaning more towards brighter colors and more contrasted colors, which gave me the idea to change for the long sleeve the letters to white instead of black. And I think somewhere around this point too is when I decided, oh yeah, I want to go more with like a purple tone, which also kind of gave me the idea of going with a t-shirt with like a charcoal tone. So having these like kind of one neutral, one decently colorful, so you have some options. So yeah, you can see this purple right here. And yeah, this is around the time that I was like, okay, this is actually coming together. And I was getting really happy with the final results. So this really just left me with having to work on the ad post for it and the advertisement. And yeah, I mean, the shirts are pretty much done from here. So if it wasn't obvious, I did some work off recording for this, but I think we're pretty much wrapped up. This is my fake pre-order Ludwig merch drop ad. You can see the main t-shirts we designed on video, and you can also see I added a beanie and a tote bag because typically when I'm designing merch spreads for clients anyways, I want there to be multiple price points of different products. So if somebody can't afford a shirt, then they could maybe buy a beanie or they can maybe buy a tote bag. Just to run through the design process for both of them, it was super simple. All I did was isolate the text for the beanie and placed it on there. For the tote bag, I just wanted something that went along with the long sleeve and had the same color vibe. So I used a canvas tote and swatched the same purple from the long sleeve and put it onto the tote bag. Very simple, very straightforward. For the background, I've been really into these like gradient textured maps, so I wanted that in there. It isn't really anything other than the fact that I just like them, and just so we're really emphasizing the design, I added the characters in the back, kind of mirroring, overlapping in the background. Down at the bottom, I have pre-order available never, because, you know, this is not an actual product as much as I wish it was, because I actually really like how this turned out. But yeah, in terms of our merch spread for Ludwig, we are done. This is it. This is really how I would pitch this for a client and how I'd get it set up to be posted on socials. So yeah, we did it. When it came to this project, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot different than anything I've ever done before. I'm not used to breaking down my design process on camera, and this is like my third YouTube video ever like this. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you got something out of it. In the very, very, very small chance that you're seeing this, Ludwig, I promise, no hate to your merch. I actually love your channel and I love your work, and I think you're an awesome creator. You definitely inspired me to make YouTube videos and stream as well. So yeah, if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube stuff, and I think that's it. See ya.